Hey everyone, I'm on Femboy Aim Trainer right now, but more importantly, today we are going to be doing a reaction video. But it's not going to be one of those reaction videos where I just sit in the corner and say, yeah, that's pretty true. We are going to be doing a proper analysis on my Genshin Rant video that I recorded last year. That video was released on August 9th, 2024, and we are now approaching November 2025, and a lot has changed in Genshin. So let's go back in time and see what I was bitching about for 40 minutes. Also, I'm not going to replay the entire video here. There will be some points that I just won't bring up because there's not really much to talk about, or there will be points that I will just straight up like summarize here and then talk about my thoughts on just for like better clarification and things like that. I'm just gonna mute this first section and up the speed because it's mainly me setting up the stage for the video, because this was like a completely different video that I've made from everything else on my channel. You know, this was a video from Chris, not MistahFeet, and you guys don't really get to see much of Chris's main account on Genshin, so I was mainly establishing the idea that this is coming from like a passionate player's perspective and not someone who does this for a living's perspective, if that makes sense for it. But I do have some notes to help me guide. Oh, I won that. Oh, that was kind of clean. That was kind of clean. Okay. I'm kind of nasty at Sekiro. That was good on my shit. And lastly, I am going into this video with the full expectation that my voice will not be heard. I have absolute confidence that none of these changes I want in the game will probably ever happen. I just want to voice my opinion.
That's just my opinion. Go ahead and cancel me. I don't care.
Yo,
MistahFeet.
shut the f up, bro.
Okay, that was good on me. I'm funny sometimes. But I digress. Let's just go ahead and start this. Endgame content and Spiral Abyss. So, we actually have seen some changes to endgame content with the Stygian Onslaught. It took 5 years, but this is like a true endgame mode with much higher health enemies, and it requires you to have 3 teams of built characters. There was some controversy surrounding the reward of the highest difficulty, because you get these weapon skins, which do look pretty cool. However, they are time gated, and I think they leave after like 1 patch, so you have to do it again when the next cycle comes out, which does suck. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of get why they did that, and I get it's like only for like the top percentage of players, but still. However, I do think the mode itself is like good for the game. It's new permanent content, so we can't really complain, you know, because that's what we want more of for Genshin. We want more content to do in the late game, and we did get that. Plus, it's harder, and they made it to where the lower difficulties give out the primo rewards, which are what most people want anyway. So the inclusion of Stygian Onslaught, I would say, is a net positive. See another mode like Abyss, but it has roguelike features from elements in that one event, and I think like 2.2, the domain I still
one.
think that would be
You could
interesting.
add
That
a
was a
co-op
fun
Abyss, and a change for the main Abyss I would like to see is honestly add more interesting buffs. Genshin just has increased elemental mastery, increased energy recharge. There's interesting ones like getting a damage buff after sprinting for a while, which actually requires you to think some if you want to.
It does. It's not the best buff, but it does mean you have to like think.
There's another passive in the roguelike event. I don't know if it's still there because I haven't played in a while. And HSR just has a large variety of buffs to choose from that benefit different classes. Could we not have something similar to that, to buffs that increase the effectiveness of like an element or a weapon or like character abilities?
They did not do this for the Abyss. As far as I know, the card buffs are still relatively the same, and the leyline buffs still cater towards new releases. One change they did do for the Abyss that I will say is a positive is that it auto clears floors 9 through 10 if you've like 36 started before. I don't know. 36, I don't think that's like fully correct, but like you can't skip the first 2 floors if you've cleared them correctly in the past, which I would say is a great thing. I think most people would agree that this is a good change, since if you're 36 starring Abyss consistently, those first floors are literally just a waste of time. There's so much potential with in-game content that you could literally make a mode where players choose enemies, bosses, their levels, and their placements, and people can just make the in-game content for you. Just give them the tools. People can literally make their own Abyss and just like make a code and send it out to other people to try it. Well, we did get something like this now. We have the UGC, Millie Astro Wonderland, which is a permanent mode. I have played a very small amount of it. I just made my Farina character, and I have not really been able to play any of the modes yet. I basically just made the character. But from what I've seen online, there's a mixed response, but it's leaning more towards negative, and it comes from people either talking about A, they just don't care about the mode, and they don't like that it takes up space, or B, the shitty monetization system, that it's terrible. Paying real money on a banner to make your character look somewhat cool and presentable, and like just not completely broke, it's insane. And the fact that it costs like $100 or like something minimum to get like the 5-star outfit, but it's like you have to get like multiple of, it's like, dude, It's a mess. That's bad. Oh my gosh. This mode's kind of looking like a potential, man, if I'm being honest. The community can do a lot of interesting modes. They can make this stuff, but however, the public perception of this mode is in the hands of Hoyoverse. They have to make this look better. They straight up have to make this look better because most people, they're not going to care, and when they hear about how sketchy the monetization system is, they're not going to want to try it out. You know, that's bad. As for like actual like game modes and what can be done with like Genshin Endgame, there is some hope. It's still early. We have to see what it can be done, but this is a rough launch and they need to be careful. This last section was just me talking about the theater, and you know, it's still in the game, so yeah. Hey folks, it's viewer mail time again. Sorry, I just like that soundbite.
This is something that we'd been asking for a long time, but when it happened, I just kind of felt like whatever. This change didn't seem like it happened because they finally listened to us, but rather because of WoW's release, if I'm just being honest.
Oh man, what a time when WoW released and the Genshin WoW debate. Oh gosh.
ZZZ both have 240 resin and 6-minute recharge rates compared to our 8.
I still stand by this. We have 200 resin now, still, and the recharge rate is also still 8 minutes, while HSR and CZZ both have 6, I believe. So I still stand by what I said there.
And on the topic of resin, this may be a hot take, but I think we should just remove condensed resin or change how it works. Like seriously, why can't we just make the domains have a 40 cost with the condensed rates and turned the condensed resin system into a proper overcapping resin system? It's kind of like that now, but again, let's compare to games like Star Rail where it overcaps to 2400 while we only get a max of 5 condensed resin, which translates to another 200 resin. I'm not saying we need 2400 like Star Rail does, but I think we could all agree having more than just another spare 200 resin would be nice to have. And plus, there's the crystal flies, which this might be a nitpick. Is it really necessary to have to collect these crystal flies, teleport to a city, go to a crafting table, get condensed resin, then teleport to a domain, and then spin the resin? Or better yet, we can use the crystal fly generator, wait a whole week, and now we have enough crystal flies to last 3 days. Changing this would also be helpful in those scenarios where you might have logged into the game, immediately did your condensed resin, then later realized, oh, I need 40 resin to do this one boss, and now I can't do it unless I use fragile resin because I wasted all my normal ones on condensed.
This is a hill I will die on. I truly believe we shouldn't have condensed resin, or at the very least, have it not tied to crystal flies. You can call it lazy, and you would be exactly right. But when I play a game like Limbus Company, for example, to where you can just instantly do this with your stamina, it's so nice. It's so nice, honestly. And I think more gachas would benefit from a system like this, especially Genshin.
And since we're still on the topic of resin, I think we should just remove daily materials. It's just frustrating and it feels dated. Just have the option to where we can choose one of the three materials for whenever we do the domain. Why should I have to wait on Tuesday, Fridays, and Sundays to collect balls from the Trial Grounds of Thunder? Why can I only collect this one book that I need on Monday, Thursday, and Sunday? It just feels like such an artificial way to stretch playing time, but if I end up coming back onto a special day and I just spur of the moment think, oh, I need to use resin on a world boss or a weekly boss for the level up materials because there's so many materials you need to get to level up characters that I forget, oh, it's Friday, I should have went to go collect some balls, and now I have to wait for Sunday to do it then. Why should the punishment for such a simple mistake range from using fragile resin to waiting literal days?
Okay, so daily materials are still in the game, and I still think they should be removed. It feels incredibly dated, and I don't think anyone, literally anyone, on everyone's soul, I don't think there'd be a single person who wouldn't mind if they changed this. Like, it's just such an easy fix.
You bet our souls for a ball?
Okay, so the next section is me talking about world bosses, and I was mainly just talking about how, like, materials don't always make sense for certain characters, like, Sethos' materials being in a leeway region, even though he's from the Sumerian desert. Like, what? It only happened because he was released on a patch that also came out with that, leeway expansion, but, like, we're in Nat Lane, so if you tell someone that nowadays, and they're, like, and they only started playing during the Nat Lane cycle, it's like, oh yeah, Sethos, his boss is in leeway, it's like, what? And they also talked about my issue with the teleport waypoint for these bosses and the lack of communication for them.
And then we have Fontaine. Fontaine is much more accessible than Sumeru or Inazuma because they actually give you a teleport. However, they do a job of telling the players that. Here, I'll show you the screen in which you unlock the teleport for Fontaine. Tell me if you noticed it. All right, if you did, that's the first test. Now tell me where's the teleport that's been unlocked. Trick question, you can't. If a new player wanted to see that they could go to Fontaine, they would have to know to look at this black blob, notice nothing is there, but then zoom in and there is the teleport waypoint.
What were they thinking?
If nothing is there, why would someone think to zoom in? There is no way for a new player to know this without looking it up. Genuinely no way. Just have a pop-up after the Archon Quest notification. It's that easy.
This is still a problem. And there's another one I can show you also. Once you beat Inazuma, you get this notification. You want to know where it is? All the way on the second floor of the chasm. How do you find out? Because of outside resources or a jackass like me saying it. Seriously, this needs to be fixed. I remember this happened to me on Natlan release. I was walking my ass across the desert, and as soon as I got to the border, I saw the waypoint already active, and I was just ready to log out. This is such a baffling decision to me. I seriously can't understand why they wouldn't tell you what waypoint has been unlocked. That just seems like such an anomaly of game design. Like, that, I don't really know how to describe it. That's truly baffling.
For a newer player, resources are a complete nightmare. If you are starting from the beginning, you can pretty much only pick 2 characters out of your team to level up consistently between the ascension ranks. And the fact that normal enemies at lower world levels don't even drop material sometimes is just ridiculous to me. Oh, and going back into boss resources, the fact that I am AR 60 and can still get 2 drops from a boss, which also is something that a level 1 player can do, is literally insane. How is this even possible? I should be getting 3 minimum. There is never a chance I should be getting 2 at AR 60. There is literally no progression. What?
So, I still stand by the fact that getting resources is still not a great experience for new players, but they did change the boss system. If you are AR 60 in World Level 9, you are guaranteed 3 boss drops. Yes! That is such a great fucking change, and since the bosses respawn in like 5 seconds now, which is also a fucking amazing move, grinding bosses is so much better now than what it used to be. So, they've done a much better job with the boss resource grind.
The first 5-star story quest you can do in the game is Cleese. Do you want to know how long it is? It's like 40 minutes if you're watching cutscenes, 20 if you're skipping everything. It is a short and simple story, and you learn everything you need to know about Klee. Now let's look at Nilou's quest. Nearly an hour and 40 minutes. This is kind of the average length for story quests now, which I would be fine with, but they just focus on random NPCs. We care about the playable characters in the story quest, not NPC, male model B, hair color brown, Inazuma clothes orange. NPCs have their place in the game to help the world feel bigger and more alive, but the story of a character story quest should be about the titular character. Now, let's compare this quest to an actual important quest like the newest Stainslive quest, Bedtime Story. An hour and 15 to like an hour and 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? Why is the story about Ayato fixing a divorce longer than a quest about us seeing our sibling again? Why is the story about Nilou trying to save her theater and win a debate longer than the Dane quest that give us important lore, have an NPC that actually matters to the main story, and gives us a chance to see our sibling, which is the whole point of the story? Why is Nilou's quest longer? She doesn't even win the debate. Anaya has to come in and stop it so it ends. It's just comical at this point.
So for the story quest section, I mentioned how they got better with Fontaine's release, and I do believe that they have continued to get better. Cloran had a great quest, but there's 2 quests in the Natlan patches that I want to talk about in particular, Moeka and Skirk. There will be spoilers, so you can go to this timestamp to avoid them. Moeka had a story quest that I quite liked, honestly. It wasn't as dramatic as some of the other quests, but it didn't need to be. It was just a nice story, and it didn't have a real antagonist. I felt like I got to know Moeka better as a character, and it was really nice to see all these different interactions with characters we all know from the Archon Quest, and they introduced an NPC that I actually cared about. I really enjoyed meeting Shibalanke and going around Natlan with him. I seriously liked that part of the quest. They did a great job of making the quest feel like it's around the titular character and having us learn more about them through their interactions with the cast. And they made an NPC that was a part of the quest actually enjoyable to be with, which isn't always common with these things. A lot of the times, the NPCs can be overbearing, and the story seems like it's about them, and to an extent, This story was largely based on discovering who Xbalanque is, but it felt like Moeka always had a presence to me. She still felt like the co-lead, and I really enjoyed her here. Skirk had probably one of the best story quests in the game, I'd argue. The cutscenes are beyond beautiful. They are so gorgeous, truly, but the actual contents of the quests were great too, and I want to talk about that. I love that it starts out with a traveler going to see Baiju to get treated for their problems. I love that they are using characters from different regions to be involved in these stories. It makes it feel so much more real. I like seeing the characters we know, and I really like to see them without it having to be an event or a quest focused solely on them. Even when the restaurant owner mentioned Shinha by name, I got happy because I was like, yes, they acknowledged her existence. I don't have to wait for another Lantern Rite to see or hear about Shinha again. We didn't see her, but like, it's still nice to know that she exists aside from one time of the year. As for the actual story itself for the quest, we learn about Skirk's past through her dreams and memories. And although the backstory is kind of generic, if I'm being honest, it's a kid who lost both their parents. I recognize that that is a very valid motivator. And with Sertology pushing Skirk to her limits and beyond by using fear, it was really interesting to me. I also like seeing her train the Traveler. We got some more Tartaglia drops in this quest, and the quest didn't end where I thought it would. I thought after the first fight in the Abyss, we would have just retreated and been like, oh, the problem's done for now and Skirk is hurt, but we'll just wait again until she's ready and do her second quest in 2029. But no, that didn't happen. We got more of the quests. We went back in with Skirk, fought the antagonist, discovered that they were a follower of Sertology. We helped Skirk get back in touch with her emotions, and just overall, this was a fantastic story quest in my opinion. And it's important to the lore of the game, which just adds another big bonus for me. So Hoyo has been getting better with the story quests since the beginning of Fontaine, and for most of the quests in that land, they've continued to be better. I'm just gonna let this entire section play because I still fully believe everything I say here.
At first glance, this may seem like the most obvious complaint that I would have for the game, since most of my videos revolve around me having to play through the game and listen to the dialogue all over again. And while yes, this change would help me get challenges done faster by probably 5 hours, that's not my main reason for wanting these. I've played through the game multiple times without one of these, and I will continue to do so, regardless if it's ever there. I want a skip cutscene button mainly for quality of life in the world quest. I genuinely cannot understand the argument as to why it's not an option, unless there's some sort of physical limitation. I've seen one comment say that the reason they do this is to maximize time with the characters so you would like them more and want to pull for them, or that they don't add it because quests would be done so fast and people would complain about filler patches. So let me say this, as for maximizing time with the character, I feel like I know just as much about these characters before I did their quests than I do after doing their quests. If anything, being forced to spend time with a character that you don't like or don't care about only makes the experience even more frustrating. And as for the argument of quests being done fast and people complaining, let's be real, people are going to complain about everything. That's literally what I'm doing right now. If that patch doesn't end in 0, 1, or 2, there are going to be people calling it a filler patch. I am a firm believer that in any game, cutscenes should be skippable. And one of the biggest complaints about this game is the inhumane amount of yapping these nobodies do. I've had friends drop the game simply because they didn't care for the story, but the game forces them to spend hours doing it, and sometimes without you ever exploring or fighting anything, which is a topic I'll get into a little bit. It is way too frustrating of an experience when you just want to do a quick little side quest or start a world quest just to get some primos, and then you have to sit through mindless babbling. Like, come on, man, I just want to get some primos. Do I really have to set aside 90 minutes of my day just to get a third of a wish? All I'm asking for is that you just make it an option. You don't have to make it flash on the screen. Just have a little pause button or an ellipsis button on the top left or right with a drop-down menu that says skip. There are people who enjoy the game's story, yes, but there are also people who enjoy the game for the combat and the exploration. These stories can be interesting, yes, but they fill it with so much talking that it's easy for people to lose interest and just mash through the dialogue so they can get it over with.
So my main gripe here with the Archon Quests was that there was not a lot of combat during them, and this is obviously going to be more focused around my experience as a YouTuber and the content that I make. And now that Natlan has come out, I can say that they did fix that issue. There's plenty of combat in that Archon Quest. Act 4 is almost exclusively combat, and most of Act 5 takes place in just one domain. So yes, this was fixed technically by my definition. Do I think Natlan's Archon Quest is perfect? No, not at all. In terms of the story, I think Fontaine and Sumeru are better, but Natlan is not bad by any means. I do think that the character writing during the quests was weak though. Eon-san and Kenichi are the big standouts for that in my opinion, and I also thought Chaska was also not really too good in the story. But you also have to keep in mind, I'm just referring to their roles in the Archon Quest. As a narrative, I think Natlan had a good story.
These are just some fixes that I really wish they would add after playing other games. They've made some good ones in the 4.0 cycle, like the claim all button for expeditions, which is crazy that it took 3 years. Daily commissions changed to where you can explore, and that'll actually like get you the encounter points, the long-term encounter points. That was a good change. Abilities resetting in the abyss whenever you choose to restart a floor. They've been steadily making some good changes, but there's definitely some more that need to be done, in my opinion. First is dailies. We literally have a button that says claim rewards, but it's a f***ing tease. Just let us collect the rewards wherever we are. There's no reason to visit Catherine every day. Crafting menu, why can't we just have this as an option in the pause menu? We don't have to go to a table every time. You could just like write in some excuse to where it's like, we have a gadget and now we can do it wherever we are. Allow us to collect dailies in co-op. Allow the traveler to swap elements in the menu. Make artifact grinding a lot easier. Oh, and holy sh**, I just remembered, give us artifact loadouts. I nearly forgot about that. Allow constellations to be turned off and on. Allow us to buy old event weapons in the item shops. So, the quality of life changes I asked in the video were not added, but Genshin has added plenty of other changes. There's the Abyss one that I mentioned earlier. The character trials actually tell you about the character in a much better way. Exploring to get character materials is so much easier now because they actually have circles on the map telling you where they are, and if you've collected all the ones in an area, it will let you know that. Artifacts will tell you what the next stat is. You can use a gadget to pick the stats you want. The music events are now permanent basically because you can do the rhythm games at any point you want. They remove the keys for the story quest. They have genuinely added a lot to this game for its quality of life, and it's great to see. But you still have to see Catherine every day for commissions. I have 2 things to say about events. 1, make the important ones permanent, and 2, quit recycling so many of them. Events didn't necessarily receive too many changes, but the last summer event is permanent now, I believe, which is a good thing. And although this isn't the best, at least whenever you do a quest now, if there was something important that happened in a previous deleted event, we do have the recollections features for players who didn't play the event so they can get a brief understanding of the major plot points. It's, like I said, it's not the best solution, but at least there is something. They are literally free money. Make more of them, especially 5-star skins. Change the burst animations, or at least some color variations, and by that, I don't just mean turning the contrast up by 20%. Imagine if Diluc or Dia had a skin that used blue fire, or Kaching had like black lightning. That might cause some problems because of how reactions look and work, but surely there has to be some capacity to alter colors, or at the very least change animations. There is so much potential with skins, and I wish we got more than just putting the leeway characters in dresses and suits for every lantern right. And also, make them purchasable via Primo Gems. If someone's willing to give up like 50 pulls just to get a skin for a character they like, then why can't they? I mean, we all know the actual answer to that.
Money!
But it still would just be a nice thing to have.
Yeah, so we didn't get too many skins. Off the top of my head, we got the Bennett skin, which is actually pretty cool. I like it. The Xiangling one is cute, and the Yelan one is also pretty. None of the color variations or different burst animations, like I mentioned though, sadly. I still think the potential with skins is sky high, but they just don't really do anything too weird or wild or anything like that, and that kind of bums me out. It's like, I want to see creativity. I know these people can cook. I believe they can cook, so I want to see what they can come up with. Seriously, I do. It still kind of sucks, but it doesn't suck as hard. They reduced the fate point count down to 1, which is a great change, but yeah, the banner is still hard to recommend to people. For this section, I basically just said, I think we need a 3rd banner, and I'm honestly really surprised we haven't gotten this yet. Like, really surprised. I know we're doing those Chronicle wishes, but still, the fact that there's not a 3rd character banner yet still confuses me, honestly. And also, Standard banner really needs an update. Please just let us pick whatever we want for our 5-star. As it stands, there is no real reason for someone with a normal account to pull on Standard banner. None. Literally none whatsoever. The game gives you 20 Standard banner pulls at the beginning of the game. You get them for leveling characters, and other than that, it's just the monthly reset. That is it. You get pink wishes from events, the Archon Quests. There is no reason to use your Primo Gems on Standard banner. And if someone wants a character or weapon from that banner, then let them pick it. I'm AR60, but I've never had the Skyward Harp. I don't have Dia. I don't have the Wolf's Gravestone, and more. Just let us pick and have a reason to pull on this banner, aside from us doing the monthly reset and getting a 5-star on the banner like once a year. So I do have Dia, but it was from last year's anniversary. I still don't have the Wolf's Gravestone, but I think we all know the point that I was making here. This banner should have a use, but it doesn't, and that sucks. There is a chance to make this useful, but they aren't gonna do that. I just wish I actually had a reason to do do this banner instead of just doing 5 wishes on it every month. I really think that there is a chance to make standard banner somewhat useful. I really do, but they clearly don't have any interest in doing that. This is mainly here because I just want more. I don't really care about the meta reactions or any of that stuff. I really don't. I just want them to add more layers to the gameplay and have all of the elements work with each other. Can we get more elemental reactions so we don't have to wait 2 years for the off chance that we might get elements in the future? We did not get any new elements yet, but we did get new reactions with the Not Cry characters. We have the Lunar reactions, which add changes to Bloom and Electro Charged if you're using one of the Not Cry characters. I'm glad that they did give the game something different. They added a new mechanic, which, you know, is healthy. We likely won't see a new element for a while, honestly. So as long as they keep introducing new mechanics like this, I think it would help make the game feel more fresh, you know? There are times to where it's like, we really shouldn't even have the option to speak. Just let Paimon say everything because either our options don't matter or they just get flat out ignored. Okay, so they actually did kind of fix this, weirdly enough. I don't know if you would call it fixing, but they made a change. So what they did was for the 2 dialogue boxes, they essentially cut out a long sentence in half, if that makes sense. So if your character is saying one complete thought, you will have 2 options, but those 2 boxes are just splitting it in half. I don't think I'm really finding the best way to describe this, but I can show an image, and I think that would make more sense.
By the way, what they said just now is all pretty confusing. Did you understand it at all?
Yeah, I pretty much got it.
Oh, well then, let's go over it again.
No, please don't. I chose the first option so that you would not make me go over it again.
You're like, I got it. I got it.
Oh, okay. This fine.
First off, that
Oh, never mind.
I only included that part again just because I thought it was funny. That's just how like the dialogue felt back then. No matter what you said, the game was going to put you on a straight path. The illusion of choice. We have a joke on my channel. If there's no audio, it doesn't matter. But I do think there is some truth to that statement. There are important quests that do not have dialogue, such as the Aranara quest, but I can't be the only one who feels that whenever Hoyoverse makes a quest that isn't voiced, it kind of signals to me that this quest is not going to be nearly as important as the other ones. When I hear Paimon or another character speak, whether or not I care about what they say does not matter. I am at least getting a signal that this is something important to the main story. When they don't speak anything and I'm having to read a visual novel, I get the sign that this quest will never be mentioned again in anything meaningful. I know that the R&R quest has important lore to it, but I really don't want to have to read through 11 hours of dialogue to enjoy it. This is a bit of a weird topic to discuss now, especially because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes with the VAs and stuff. I'm not gonna get into that because, I mean, like, there's a Mugen video you can watch of that if you haven't already. But I will say that the lack of voices could have actually hurt people's interpretations of the story for Natlan. I think most people are kind of used to the lack of voiced dialogue for the quests that aren't Archon, event, and story quests. I think most people are already used to that. And I think it's because that we're used to that probably hurt most people's interpretations. Not most. That probably hurt some people's interpretations of the stories for Natlan. And even though they are currently adding them back in, I can attest to this because I'm not used to hearing Konich in Acts 3 through 5, and hearing them now is still something I have to get used to on my other accounts. But my main worry is that the other people who don't get this knowledge, the people who don't have multiple accounts, the normal people, they might have played through a muted story, and what if they didn't know about the SAG-AFTRA stuff, you know? That's something that could make people drop the game because they're thinking, why are they not voiced, you know? I think this was mainly just unfortunate timing, but in terms of the quests I was referring to, like the R&R one, Natlan actually did see important world quests, very important world quests, actually, so I do appreciate them making them feel more substantial. That is something they've definitely gotten better with. So this section is me talking about the initial reveal of the Natlan characters and the controversy surrounding both theirs and Sumeru's release. That controversy revolving around the lack of like variety of skin tones being used. The character designs themselves in Natlan aren't really my favorites in general. I would say that aside from a very small few, there aren't many bad character designs in Genshin, but they do have disappointing designs, if that makes any sense what I'm trying to get at. If I had to pick a favorite design in Natlan, it would probably be Aoife, and that's mainly just because of the colors used. But in general, the designs to me for that were just
they were just mainly eh. But on the topic of skin tones, they have used more skin tones for designs, but I want to see more. This is supposed to be a world, and it's based off of places in our world. So show off all the different kinds of people in each world, you know? I know this game is fictional, but it's still hard for me to buy into this game and to buy into this world that has a variety of different nations and cultures when the people in said world look close to the same color of each other, you know? Because our bodies change and adapt to the environment that we're from, so naturally there's going to be major differences between someone who lives in a desert versus someone who lives in the Arctic or near the sea, etc. There's so much color in the world, and I would just like to see more of that in Genshin. Next, I just hope that Shibalanke doesn't look like an isekai protagonist with a tattoo of a jaguar head on his arm. I can say this was in fact not the case, and I actually kind of like this design. And I'm not saying that because it's a child and I'm a YouTuber. This is an NPC, and it looks different from the rest of the other NPCs. But I know it's still an important character because Shibalanke used that body. So if I see that NPC in the future, I'm gonna know, oh, this is an important one to look out for, potentially. Genshin has made a lot of changes in the past year, and I didn't even name all of them. Like, one thing they added was adding the character anecdotes in the open world permanently. That's pretty cool, I appreciate that. But did they add everything I wanted? No, they didn't add an option to swap traveler elements in the menu, but they still have made a lot of improvements. But even with all these changes being made to the game, I still have to ask myself, why am I not playing this as much on my main account? I still do my challenge runs and spend like 50 hours a week on those runs. But why is it that I spend so little time on my main account? I'm aware of these changes, and I appreciate the effort from the devs. I genuinely do. It makes me happy that the devs are like somewhat paying attention to this community. But even though these changes make me happy, I can't say that they always make me want to play the game. A couple days ago, I played Genshin Impact on my main account for fun, and it was the first time that I can say I've done that in a while. I wasn't doing a challenge account. I didn't just log in to do my dailies. I logged on to Genshin to try and have fun. And I did have fun. I went collecting materials to level my Escoffier to 90. I did some story quests. I explored a little bit of Netland. I had fun doing this. But I had to convince myself to play the game in the first place. I had to tell myself, hey, let's play Genshin and go do this, which is a feeling that I don't have for most games. If I want to play a game, I just know I want to play it and I go play that game. But I had to actually think and convince myself to play Genshin Impact on my main account. And like I said, I did have fun, but it was something that I had to think about before I was reading my nightly Chainsaw Man. I was thinking, why did I have to convince myself to play Genshin? And that made me sad, because when I do a challenge run, I don't have to convince myself. I wake up, I turn on my audio software, load up Hoyo Play, run my recording software as administrator because Game Capture doesn't recognize Genshin as a game normally for some reason. I get my timer going, and I just play the game. But when I swap over to my main account, I just lose that desire to play. And I hate that, because this was a game that I used to play for hours on my main account. And I mean longer hours than I do recording my challenges. I would just explore the world, get chests, do puzzles, all while talking to my friends. I love this game so much, and it has made my life so much better. It gives me the opportunity to live out my dream. And even though I call this game terrible, poopy, piss, dog shit, and whatever harsh words I might say, I still am going to love this game. But I don't play it that much on my main account. And truth be told, it's hard for me to want to play the game on my main account, and I don't want to say these things to completely contradict everything I've said in the video where I said, I'm happy about this change, or I'm glad to see this, because I am. I'm thrilled to see Genshin making an effort to do better. After 4 years, it's nice to see them doing more, and they're offering better experiences for its players. But it doesn't make me thrilled to play the game, if that makes any sense. I'm thrilled to see these changes, but I'm not scratching at the bit to try and play the game. I'm feeling burned on my main account. And it's my fault. I've put the time into this game, and I think I had my Icarus moment. The game was too addicting for me, and I got so close to it that it became too much for me. So I've fallen into the water now. Now that I'm in this water, it's hard for me to want to fly closer again. Do I want to keep playing on my AR60 account? Why is it that I have so much to do in the game still, but I feel like I've done everything already? Do I just need to play this game in doses like yesterday, and just only play that game like that, like once a week, in hopes that I'll get that fire back? Maybe. I don't know. I haven't fully given up on that account. I still log in enough to where I've never gotten Stellar Reunion, and I feel good about that, honestly. The entire thing is just a weird feeling for me, you know? In the end of the Rant video, I said I would be going free to play for Genshin unless I had to spend for challenges, and if I did, I would donate the same amount to charity. And in this past year, since recording that, I've only had to spend for Moika only and Mizuki only, I believe. I donated to these two organizations for the Mizuki video, but I didn't bring attention to that because there wasn't really a need for me to mention that in the video, I feel. I'm highlighting mental health in that video, and I want to talk about mental health because that's a very serious topic to me, and I didn't want to bring it up because
Oh, yeah, I donated to these organizations because of a promise I said. That just didn't sit right with me. I didn't want to bring attention to it. I haven't decided what organization I wanted for Mawika yet, but I will once that video is being made. Will I still hold myself to that promise I set last year? Yeah, probably. I'm glad that Hoyo's doing better with this game, and it does seem like they are trying to give a damn about their consumers. But I'm gonna be honest, when it comes to spending, it's just gonna be a matter of whether or not I care enough about a character to even want to spend. And I don't know if I'm at that point for my main account. As for the challenge accounts, oh yes, I'm gonna keep that promise in terms of donating for charities because I want to, and I want to be better. And I'm happy for Hoyo because in this past year, they have been better. And it might be greedy or selfish of me to say, but I want more. But they're taking steps in the right direction. And sometimes when they take steps in the right direction, they'll take a couple back, just like with the Wonderland stuff and the cosmetics. Oh god, that's a mess. But I still want them to try. And I'm not saying that they don't, but I just want them to keep trying and keep getting better. But, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the video. It's been a long road down memory lane from 1 year ago, but I still think this was a good video to make. A lot has changed, and for the better. But I've still got some things I would like to see be added, of course. And please, down in the comments, let me know what you think about the game right now. Are you enjoying it? Do you hate it? Are you even still playing? Please just let me know because I am curious. But, that's it for Chris at the moment. I'll see you all later.
Tell me why